Hi all, right, back with more Labyrinth. The weekend playing the Arrow Spring scenario solo. This is part 16. Okay, I've got a nice little spell of free time today. Rest of the day's my own. And we're only, what time is it? About 1:30 or something afternoon. So early afternoon. And I've got the night to myself as well. So I'm going to get a couple of bits of this done. I did see yesterday I'd got another game set up on other tables, so I'm going to have a little bit of shot of that as well. I'm not going to record that. I might do a recording of it in the future maybe, but it's not a war game anyway, so anybody watching it here probably not as much interest in things like that. The game is what is it, Civolution. I think I said last night it was one of my Christmas presents from the last Christmas, not Christmas just past. And it's the first time I've actually set it up, so and I don't get that many games, to be honest, but you can see how long it takes me to play a game. Maybe that makes it more understandable. Right, okay, I'm looking down here and seeing these cards here, so I had to just double check where we're at. These were our last two card plays. I just obviously forgot to put them away. They were both played for just ops, I think, and so they're just getting discarded. Yeah, and the last one, well, we shifted France's posture to soft. We got that to there. We had a go, the last one, thinking we'll try China, because it was a 2-ops card. We failed there, or we would have got that to there. I think we've got plans for the last 3 cards in our hand as well. I'll hopefully look at my cards and realise where the plans are. But just one thing to talk about. I mentioned a part or two ago that there was showing 4 comments on one of my YouTube videos, and I could only see 3 of them. And I know some comments, like if you put any links or anything like that in YouTube will sort of just get rid of them. You'll not see them. You also sometimes see comments, and then if people have deleted them, I think then they're away, but they still show up as a comment. I'm not sure about this one at all, because it's a pretty straightforward comment. It was from Tim. I eventually found it. And it was Hammer that told me how to go about it. When you do your preferences for how you look at your comments, it defaults to top, but there's a newest option as well. So I clicked on the newest, and right enough the comment comes there. I mean, I don't really understand why it's not showing up while you're showing selected as top. I have no idea why that doesn't show there. But however, when I click newest, it does show the comment, like, down the bottom. So yeah, I'm a bit confused about how that works. But I'll try and keep that selected in future. Just keep newest selected if it's going to hide certain comments away. I don't know why. And it's not as if there was, like I say, there was only 3 comments shown, but it said there was 4. So it's not as if there was loads and loads of comments that might have just been sort of hidden away. So strange. But anyway, the comment was from Tim, and it was in part 11, this. And I'm going to have to look at this again in the rules. So the card was... Yeah, that's a good bit of go, Grant. Well, let's just get the card, though. Because, I mean, it does look like a mistake that I've made here, but I'm still scratching my head a little bit, and I can't remember what it's called now. I think I'll see it. When I see it, it'll register. Unless it's been removed. It must have been a good bit ago. Right, hang on a second. Right, I've forgot the name now, and I'm not 100% sure. I think it was this card. It was 2 ops anyway, that's the important part. So, it was a 2 ops card. And it was the second card play of the Jihad... no, it was the very last card play of the Jihadists for that turn. It was his very last card, and he played this for 2 ops, right? So, well, I'll leave the card there. Hopefully I'll remember that. That's just going back to the discard pile. So, Tim is, and he commented, it's bang on, the timestamp is bang on where I finished the turn, put this away. And he says that the bot should have used... Now, at that time, the bot had 1 reserve, right? I'm not going to change that, or I'll may well forget about that one. So I had 1 reserve at the time, and you can see this is a 2 ops card. So, admittedly, it wants to make the most out of that, so it does want to take the other ops to add to the reserves. Now, I had a little bit of confusion with this previously, and Tim sort of straightened me out on that. I'm not sure he was 100% sure on everything, but let's just say we've got 2 ops there, and there's 1 ops in reserve, right? And we have to do a... Well, the operation that they carried out, right, was a minor jihad attempt, and let's just say it was Algeria, Tunisia. Might well have been. Because there was a cell there at the time, wasn't there? Yeah, I think that's what's been happening. There's been a couple of minor jihad attempts. It might have been that was in Morocco at the time. So, of course, it can only use 1 op. There was only 1 cell, so it can only do it for 1. So I put a dice here. And I say, right, it's 2 ops, but it's going to use 1 of the ops to do a minor jihad. And I say, and it'll use this other point for radicalisation. Because there was no other countries that it could do a minor jihad in. And I talk about that as well. I say, if there been another option at minor jihad elsewhere, let's say there was a cell in Morocco and a cell in Algeria, Tunisia, it would do 1 in there and 1 in there. That would have used both its ops up. Now, that in that case... Well, I think, because I'm starting to be a little unsure about this, in that case, it wouldn't have touched the 1 reserve. However, I think I'm going to struggle to... Is this right? Is it that's possible that maybe that comment is deleted it? But, well, no, I did find it, so it can't be that. Anyway, what the bottom line is, Tim is saying that although we could only do 1 ops for minor jihad and keep 1 ops for radicalisation, he's saying that we should have used the 1 reserve and had 2 points for radicalisation. Now, previously I thought that's how things worked, but I thought we had straightened all this out, that it wouldn't have used that. Because using that reserve is not giving it anything for its operation. So I'm going to have to go back to the rulebook here and look at it again. Because, I mean, Tim knows his stuff and he's more than likely got it right. I'm not saying it's not possible that he's got this wrong, but it's more than likely that I'm not thinking it through straight. I think originally... I wondered about using the reserves. No, is this not what I thought in the first place, Tim? There was 1 cell in wherever it was, right? We wanted to do a minor jihad. We've got 2 ops. Now, previously, I said, yeah, that's what I'd done. I said, right, I'm going to use that reserve to give myself 3 ops, knowing that I could only use 1 ops for the jihad. And then I would have 2 ops left to do radicalisation. And I'm sure I was told that was wrong. And in the rules, it specifically does say, I'm going to go to the rulebook in a second, that you don't use reserves just for radicalisation. Well, if I'm doing it the way that he's suggesting now, we use the 1 ops for that. We've got 1 ops left to do radicalisation with. I understand getting the 1 ops from the card. I think that's fair enough. But if I then use other ops from the reserves, that point is getting used from the reserves for radicalisation. So, Right, let's see if we can see this in the rules. Yeah, to be honest, it's right at the beginning of the radicalisation step. So I'm just baffled to what I thought about. If you're watching this, Tim, because I think you knew, I'm pretty sure it was you that straightened me out with this. I was obviously thinking about something else, doing something differently with the reserves in the past. Because right now what you're telling me now is kind of what I thought I'd said back in the previous playthrough. I think I'm getting a bit mixed up with things. So anyway, let's look at it here. So radicalization 12.4.3. It says, if the jihadist bot performs no operation, right, well, remember, it's going to perform one operation, but it can only use one ops from its 2 ops card. There's 1 ops in reserve, right? So, if it performs no operation, or an operation using fewer ops in the card's ops value, well, that's the case. It's doing an operation, it's doing a minor jihad operation using 1 ops of the 2 ops available on the card. Then it says, perform radicalization operations as follows with any remaining ops, so that's from the card, which is 1, using reserves if possible until a total of 3 cells/roles have been used with the card. Well, it's straight up there, Grant. So what he has said is correct, that I've used my 1 point for minor jihad. I can't minor jihad anywhere else, so this ops gets used for reserves, it's used for radicalization, and this 1 ops in the reserves, because we've not spent 3 ops yet, gets used as well for radicalization. Where's the bit that says it can't be? That's in the note, isn't it? It's the note just after this. Never use only reserves for any radicalization operation. Well, there you go, Grant. But that's not what I was talking about before either. I'm confused to what I was thinking before. I was thinking before that... Now, hold on. Right, hang on. This is maybe coming to me now. Hang on. What I was thinking before was... No, it's the same. I'm sure that's what I was thinking. Like I say, this is a 2 ops card. We know we can only use 1 of the ops for the operation. We know there's 1 reserve up there. And that's what I wanted to do in the past. I wanted to take that reserve right now. I mean, it's the wrong timing to take it though. Maybe that's why it was talked about that way. The timing is not right for me to take it. I need to carry out the operation. I need to be left with 1 ops. I've spent, the card was 2 ops, so I'm allowed to spend 3. I've got 1 there and I've got 1 there. And I'm going to do radicalization with this. So it's not just radicalization I'm using for the reserves. It's to add to the 1 ops left on the card. Yeah, that's fair enough. I mean, I want to say that that's how I missed that, because when I was watching back on it, when he's commented there, I'm like, sort of scratching my head, saying, "Is that right? I thought I was doing that right." But that clearly just in the rules there says it's not. So. Okay. Right, well, yeah, unfortunately with this, we're just going to have to let this go. Right now, if they were sitting at 1 reserve, I would maybe knock them up another reserve. But what they actually done there, they attempted to recruit into the country with the cadres, whether it was Iraq or Pakistan. No, I think it was Pakistan. They attempted to recruit there. So what they would have done, they would have attempted with 2 dice, a recruit in Pakistan. I can't really fix that, can I? That was in part 11. This is part 16. I think I just have to let that go. But yeah, thanks for bringing it up again. Anyway, I'm a little confused to the problem I was having with it before. You might well know what I'm talking about, Tim, because I'm pretty sure it was me and you that were a bit back and forth with that. And I went back and looked at the video, the comments way back, if I could find the actual part that you talked about it and made it clear to me, then maybe I would find what it is I'm actually thinking about, rather than this. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't even think I could. I'm sort of saying, could you have another role right now to put a cell in Pakistan? I don't really think that would be a good idea. It's just it's too long ago, and even looking at the possibility, did they have cells? I think they had cells available. I could see that in the video. Yeah, I'm just going to have to leave it, I'm afraid. I mean, to be honest, they didn't use up the reserve, did they? So at least they would use that reserve at some other point. But it should have been used there and then. Fair enough. Okay. Yeah, I'll just have to let it go, and hopefully I've now completely got how that works. I'm a little confused by it, to be honest, but right there in rule 12.4.3, and the little note underneath, never use only reserves for any radicalisation operation. So I think what is confusing me though is, like I say, what was the problem I had before with that? Because I don't know. It must have been something different from that. So different from what I've just done there just now. Anyway, okay, right, that's enough crap. Right, and moving on then. So it's the bot's turn, isn't it? We've got 3 cards left, they've got 3 cards left. Let's say we had 1 more card on them. Did we get something discarded? Was this the turn when we got lucky and they discarded that? No, that wasn't this turn, was it? They got another card. They searched for another card, didn't they? That was it. Yeah. Yeah, they brought back another card. Yeah. Right, okay, and then the situation, we've got a new situation now. We've got 2 cells in poor neutral Egypt, 2 cells in Indonesia, Malaysia, poor neutral as well. So just thinking about what I was going to do here. I'm pretty sure I had things set out for all these cards. That's unplayable. That's unplayable. That we were going to use, that is playable. So I think what we were going to do was, these are both 3 ops. We were going to attempt. Either I did ponder about attempting. Oh no, I can't. Oh yeah, no, you can. Why did that? What was I talking about there then? I must have been talking a lot of nonsense there. Iraq's got an aid marker in it. Was it Iraq we were talking about? It wasn't Iraq, Grant. It wasn't Iraq. Although, just thinking about it, that we could do this in Iraq. Because this event places an aid marker in any... it's with a cell. That's what it is. That's why. That's why we're looking at Egypt or Indonesia. But I'm just confused thinking I'd said that I couldn't place... I could play this. If there was a cell in Iraq, I could play this and we could have 2 aid markers in there. The first aid marker can only come from the failed War of Ideas roll of a 4 result. But any events can add more aid markers to it. Yeah, no, this was either Egypt or Indonesia, Malaysia. Yeah, so what I was pondering on is doing the War of Ideas first without the aid marker, and if we fail by 1, we get an aid marker. Then we play this to put a second aid marker in, because it doesn't work the other way about. And then we've got a better chance of doing the... But that's me assuming I get a 4 result. Why not play the aid marker first and then give myself a better chance in there? I think, yeah. I think that sounds like the better play. There's no other penalties elsewhere. We've not got a decent good ally. I've just 1 away from that, actually. That's a pity. But, you know. Right, it's not your turn though. But I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put an aid marker in there and then use one of these 3 ops cards to attempt a War of Ideas, hopefully getting that to ally. And then the next play was going to be deploy some troops into Egypt when it's ally. And if we fail with the War of Ideas, we've got 1 more shot at it to try and put it to ally, and then next turn we can maybe bring some troops down. But between there and now, although they can't recruit, Grant, that's good. Yeah, looking up there, cells, and there's 2 cells in Ample, but their fund is moderate, so they can't recruit. They could play cells, but they can't recruit. Well, let's see what they're going to do. That was like 20 minutes and we've talking about stuff. Right, and it is the to go, yeah, okay. So 2 ops, US card. Okay, and they've got 2 reserves. So let's keep switched on to that now. That I don't know, it worries me that I might have done that before. What I had done there. Because I don't think I was thinking about it straight like that. Okay, so 2 ops. So no event, flow chart we need. Right. Hang on a second, I forgot to do something. Give me a minute. Right, let's go. So flow chart. Now we've got, like I said, we've got 2 cells here. Poor Egypt and 2 cells in poor Indonesia, Malaysia. So, no. Is funding tight? No. Is there selling good or fair? No, they're both poor. Is our poor Muslim country 1 to 4 or more cells and troops in Malaysia where jihad success possible? Yes. Both Egypt and Indonesia, Malaysia have 1 to 4 or more cells and troops, and they're a poor Muslim country. So yes, among the candidates, find the travel to priority, and then as a removable cell adjacent. Well, rather than finding the candidate, let's just look straight away and say there's no cell adjacent to that, and there's no cell adjacent to Egypt. Okay, so whatever one is the priority, the answer's going to be no. Then is funding moderate? Yes, it is. Is a prestige greater than 1? Yes. And is there active cells with troops? No. We're still not getting any troops on the track, so no. Is there a cell available? Not for recruit purposes. There's 2 cells up there in Ampol, but their funding is moderate. So this is a no. Cell available? No. Is there a cell in a non-Muslim country? No. Cells are in Muslim Egypt, Muslim Indonesia, Malaysia, and Muslim Afghanistan. So no, there's not. So it's going to travel. Okay? And yeah, that was the one I got caught out with before and went yes, and then thought it had to be plotting in a non-Muslim country, but that's not the case. You've just got to switch off from that one. Anyway, it's going to travel, so we know we're doing a travel operation. So where are we travelling to? Well, we're wanting to travel to the poor Muslim country, 1 to 4 more cells and troops in Malaysia. Again, that's going to be Egypt or Indonesia, Malaysia again. So we've got 2, so we stop here. And now we find this priority. So between Egypt and Indonesia, Malaysia, they're both 3 resources. Indonesia, Malaysia is an oil exporter. Egypt is not. That might be relevant. Right, so no. Syria, no. Iran, no. US, no. Poor then, fair then, good. Well, they're both poor. Yeah. Right, highest resource, we know they're both 3s. So can't break it down. That doesn't apply. No disrupt prestige gain. If recruit, highest recruit, it's not recruiting, we're doing travel. Best jihad DRM, so this is if there was reaction markers involved or weakening markers, but there's none. So can't still break it down. Same posture as US, it's not a posture. Most cells, they've both got 2 cells. Adjacent to Islamist rule, they're not oil exporter. There we go. So it is going to be Indonesia, Malaysia, because it's an oil exporter. So where are they going to... Well, I suppose technically they could travel from Egypt, couldn't they? They're not going to, but let's just look to be sure. Travel from, is there adjacent? Well, we know there's not. So they're going to travel from the auto-recruit country, which is Afghanistan. So these are attempted travels. So yeah, this I have no problem with. This is 2 ops. It's a 2 ops card. They can use a maximum of 3. They've got plenty. They've got more than 3 cells. They've got at least 3 cells to travel with. Now see if there was only 2 cells. Is this the bit that was maybe it? If there was only 2 cells in Afghanistan right now, Ah, but hold on, they could travel from Egypt as well with the other one, couldn't they? Yeah, because they do go back and check that. Yeah, because the travel from country can be countries, different, it can be multiple countries. Whereas the travel to is just that country. The operation is, this is set in stone. However, the travel from can be anywhere. Let's say there was no cells in Egypt right now. Let's say there was only 2 cells in Afghanistan right now, and they were doing this travel. The card ops is 2. They've got 2 reserves. Now we know they can spend up to 3 reserves. Is this the case? Yeah, this is it, isn't it? This is it. This is what I was getting wrong. Because I'm going to use the whole 2 ops of the card up. So if I had 1 reserve right now, I've got 3 ops. I can only travel 2 cells. The 1 ops that I've used as reserves is only getting used for radicalization. And it says in the note there, never use only reserves for any radicalization operation. That's what you'd be doing there. I think that's the bit I was getting wrong, wasn't it? Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was it. Right, fair enough. I don't think I'm going to mess any of that up again. Yeah, maybe a little baffled that I did miss that, but anyway. Okay, so we've got 2 ops from the card, but there's at least 3 cells in here, so we're going to use 1 of the reserves. Remember, they get too cheap with that as well, and only spend 1, whereas if it was us, we'd have to spend them all. So now they've got 3 ops, so now they can attempt to travel 3 times into poor Indonesia, Malaysia. So 3 dice. Now, yeah, there's no active cells, so they're just going to attempt to travel 3 sweeper cells. Anything with a 3 or less is going to be successful. There we go. And they get 2. So 1 failure. This is bad. Right, so 1 fails and goes back to the track. And then there's 2 successes. Travel to Indonesia, Malaysia. That's I've got 4 now. Well, at least all 3 didn't succeed, or that'd be a major jihad attempt next turn, wouldn't it? Or next card play. In fact, for them. Right, we put the cell back. Right, they use the reserve. Okay, that's that done. That's our first card play. Let's bash on. The second card. Rakine, another 3 ops US card. Okay. Is this going to boil down to the same thing? Because they can't recruit? I think so. So they've got 3 ops, so they don't care about the reserve this time. It's not any use to them. That's the same result, Grant, isn't it? They've got 4 more cells and troops and they're poor. Okay, so no, not quite. Remember, they need 5 more cells and troops to do the major jihad. So no. Yes, but no. Yes, no. No cells available for recruits. That's no, and that's no. So it is going to be travel. Well, we know it's going to travel to Indonesia. Now that'll come up higher this time on the priorities because it'll be most cells, which is where? Well, it's that one there, but it's the 3rd from the bottom. So most cells is the thing that's changed. So that breaks the tie between Egypt and itself. Again, if it skip by that, it's oil exporter. There's nothing that comes before that. No. Don't believe so. Yeah, so again, Indonesia, Malaysia is the travel to, and the travel from is again, there's nothing adjacent. So next option's auto recruit. Afghanistan, it's still got 6 cells. Remember, it won't travel the last cell out, but it can certainly travel 3. So that's 3 more tries. And we kind of want all these to fail. That will give them recruit options again, but anyway, here we go. They get 1. That's all they needed. So 2. Well, that means that they won't be able to recruit. So 2 go back to the track. They've just got 5 there. And then 1 successfully travels to Indonesia, Malaysia. Let me tidy these up a little bit. And that's 5 cells now in poor Indonesia, Malaysia. So we know what's going to happen there. Can we choose to do what we want to do in there instead then and try and stop this shenanigans? I don't know. Well, that's our second card play. So both were played for the ops, so both are just discarded. They have 1 card left for the turn. So, well, if we'd done this down there, put the aid marker in, then attempt to shift it to ally, that's your 2 card plays, Grant. So you're not going to have time to put troops in. He's got 1 card left. If that turns out to be, well, it would mean, no, they've got 1 reserve. So even if it's a 1 ops card, they're going to try Major Jihad. Of course, if it's an event, a playable event, they will do that instead, but that's a bit of a gamble, isn't it? And if we put our time and effort into this and then it just goes Islamist rule, that's going to be a waste, isn't it? That's going to be a waste. Just looking at my cards again, see if it changes then in the fact that if that does go Islamist rule. No. Yeah, because if I put an aid marker in there and then get that shifted to poor ally, that does not stop them from attempting Major Jihad, does it? I don't believe so. They've got 5 more cells and troops. It doesn't matter that it's ally. It's an ally country as long as it's poor. In fact, it doesn't need to be poor for it to do it, does it? But anyway. And then it would also remove, I think it would remove the aid marker. Yeah. Go to Islam, show it, remove the aid marker. The other option is, I use one of my 3 ops cards to War of Ideas, and if we get the result, remember, no aid, then we could put troops in. But that's going to be no modifier, so I need a 5 or 6 to do that. Either that or we give up on it and just concentrate on Egypt. Feels like we should try, yeah. This is 3 resources as well. They're sitting at 1, so that's them up to 4. And then, of course, if I try and fail here, and using up a couple of my cards, and then they just start doing it in Egypt, then we're at risk of losing the game. Hang on. Yeah, I don't know what to do here. Maybe the fact I've got 2 3 ops cards and then the one that's putting the aid marker, should I have a bash at this with one of them? Then if I fail, there's no point doing the other one. There's no point trying it again. Hang on. Alright, sorry, I'm at the door now. Yeah, so I'm saying yeah, if I try and succeed, I could then put some troops in. If I try it and fail, I then give up, and then probably then just go and put the aid marker in Egypt. I think I should give it a shot right enough. So hold on, if we shift it to ally though, and then we do a deploy operation, then we could deploy up to 5 troops and still keep our low intensity. And then, yeah, then that 5 matches their 5, so they don't consider the 1 to 4 more cells and troops. And I can deploy as many troops as I like, can't I? Ally Muslim country. If from regime change country, it's coming from the track. Move any number of troops from one location on the board to the target. I think this is the right thing to do, isn't it? And if I fail the War of Ideas roll, then we're probably seriously going to have to consider going hard again. And well, we can still work on Egypt, I suppose, for now, but I think next turn we might have to start thinking that way. Okay, so what card am I going to use? Probably Osama bin Laden. Another one, because this one, play in a regime change country with an awakened marker. No, it's a regime change country, can't. Sorry, I'm thinking of that wrong. Just wonder if that might be worthwhile trying to keep hold of, but because we're probably going to have to start thinking about, like I say, going hard and maybe doing some regime change. That's not. I mean, that's good. I'm not saying it's not good, but I don't think it's. Yeah. Okay. Right. Let's go for this then. Let's go for this. So I'm going to play Osama bin Laden for the ops and attempt the War of Ideas. Now, let's just double check we're not missing something there, that we can do this. Improve alignment or governance. We're trying to improve its alignment. It's not regime change, so we don't need 5 more troops and cells. If we succeed, we move it to ally. It's not going to be good. And if we fail by 1 pap, then we place an aid marker there, but that's not really helping. So yeah, and then so modifiers for this. No, we've no penalty. That's at medium, so it's 0, so no there, no, and then no. So we're getting nothing. We need a 5 or a 6. It feels awful risky, but I don't know, some of you might just sort of say, let's just forget about it and do this in Egypt. Give me a second. Yeah, I think I should try. We are only getting 1 more card play as well, aren't we? Right, let's just see what happens. Okay. So we need a 5 or a 6. Nothing else is going to help. Well, not technically true if they... Thing is, they're going to start the next turn with 2 cards. Oh yeah. Come on, give me a 5 or a 6. Yes! Ooh. Result. Okay, so we go poor ally. Well, that was fortunate. That's it. Nothing else happens, does it? Success. Shift neutral to allied. Remove allies governance by 1. Right, okay. Right, so now we're going to carry on. We're going to play mass turnout for the 3 ops again. And we're going to do a deploy in Indonesia, Malaysia. And we can do that because it is an allied country. An allied Muslim country. So the purpose is to move troops. Target allied Muslim country on the troops track. Troops track is good. Well, we're not. We're travelling to poor Indonesia, Malaysia. That's why it's costing me 3 ops. And then it's not regime change, or if we're moving from a regime change country, we'd have to leave at least 5 troops in that regime change country, 5 troops more than ourselves, unless we're doing a withdrawal, which we're not. And the result is move any number of troops from one location on the board to the target. So do we just go with 5 then? I think so. Because I'd like to still get 9 cards, and we're just about at that step. So we're going to grab all 5 troops, and that's matching what they've got. So they're not going to have 1 to 4 more cells and troops. So yeah, and then it keeps us our marker in the troops marker in the low intensity. Remember, there's 5 in the war, so it goes to the one that's got less than 5 to the right, and that so it stays where it is. And then we've got troops down here. Oh, I mean, it worked. Hopefully this is a good idea. I mean, it sort of feels... I mean, if it hadn't worked, I mean, we did need to roll a 5 or a 6 there, so it was a gamble. But now we can... I mean, I'm not sure what they're going to do now. I think they're going to focus back on Egypt, but I'm not sure. Okay, so now we've got humanitarian aid left in our hand, which is interesting. Okay, so that's me done my deploy. Right, that's my 2 card plays. They were both played for ops, so they're just getting discarded. We've both got 1 card left each. 42 minutes. Yeah, let's push on. Right. So let's see. If this card had been an unplayable event, they would have attempted Major Jihad. Well, it's maybe playable. Hegel. That sounds bad. What is it doing? US posture is soft. Well, my posture is soft. Does that mean they're not going to play this? So it is going to be unplayable. So they would have had 2 plus the 1 reserve. So they would have had 3 ops to attempt the Major Jihad. Let me just double check. 222. Hegel. Not saying anything. But right, that's having to pause and wonder here again. Right. The US posture is soft. I mean, it's playable. It's a playable event. But, well, it's not doing anything. So does that not mean that the jihadist player treats it as no event? Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, I was sort of wondering there, thinking, like, how does it deal with that again? I suppose we've not had one of these for a while, so let me just double check. Yeah, it'll be here, won't it? 12.4.1, event or ops. If the card's event is playable, it is, and not US associated, well, it's got 2, it can be either. So play the event to the maximum extent possible and refer to the event instructions table for any additional instructions. There's not an event instructions table for the jihadist bot. There is for the US bot, but we're not playing that. Exception, however, if executing a playable event would have no effect, the event is deemed unplayable. Well, it's going to have no effect because that's already... The US posture is soft. So it's going to play it for 2 ops. Okay, good. Right, now we've got 1 reserve, and this is just going back to my issue here at the start of this video and that query that came up. Originally, I wanted to take this reserve right now so that I had 3, even maybe before I knew what I was doing. But that's not right, I think, because I worked it out now that if we only carry out something, an operation that uses just 2 ops, we've then got 1 ops left from reserves, and you can't just use ops from reserves as radicalization unless they're tied in with ops from the card. Okay, great. stop now. So yeah, what's the bot doing then? Well, I don't know. It still can't recruit. So is it just a case of now wanting to travel to Egypt, or would it still travel to Indonesia, Malaysia? No, I don't think so, because they've not got 1 to 4 more cells and troops. Okay, this is a no. And yeah, although it's unassociated, we're not playing it for events, so we're not going to add its ops to reserves at the end of this as well. This would have been a yes if we had not succeeded in shifting that to ally and putting our troops there. However, it's a no. That's a no. That's a no. Right, is there a poor Muslim 1 to 4 more cells and troops in militia where jihad success possible? There is in Egypt, not in Indonesia, Malaysia. We've got 5 cells to troops, so it's not got 1 to 4 more. Right. But however, there is a yes, but amongst that candidate, is there a cell adjacent? No. Fund and moderate, yes. Prestige 1, active cells with troops, no. Is there a cell available to recruit? Again, no, there's not. There's not a cell in a non-Muslim country, so it's going to travel. And it's going to travel to the poor Muslim with 1 to 4 more cells and troops in militia where jihad success possible. That is now Egypt. And it's going to travel from, it's not adjacent, auto recruit Afghanistan. Oh, well, here we go, yeah. So, this is a case, this is just what I was talking about. Although I think my explanation was that let's just say if there was 2 cells left here, because although there's 3 cells here, it needs to leave 1 behind. It'll never travel. Is it down here? Only travel the last cell out of an auto-recruit country where at least 2 other auto-recruit countries have cells. There's not any other auto-recruit countries. So it's going to have to leave that last cell there. And you might say, well, you've only got 2 ops anyway, Grant, so you're just going to attempt to travel 2 of these cells. Well, we've got a reserve. So this time we don't spend the reserve, do we? Because we're using the full ops of the card to carry out the operation. Is that right? What was different before then? We didn't use the full ops of the card. That's correct. We left 1 ops on the card. That's why I then used the reserve to go and radicalise. Yes. Yeah, I shouldn't have missed that, actually, when I think about it now. Although it's kind of muddled me up there a bit with things, thinking back to what the problem I had before. But I've got it all now, I think. So, it's 2 attempts to travel from Afghanistan to Egypt using the 2 ops. We're not touching the reserves. If there'd been 4 cells in there, it could attempt to travel 3, so it would have used the reserve. Yeah. Yeah, pretty sure that's right. Feeling good about that. Hopefully. Right, so 2 dice. 2 attempt to travel. Egypt's poor, so a 3 or less is a success. Are you sure, Grant? I think so. Yeah, let's go for it. 3 or less. So 1 success, 1 failure. So 1 goes back to the track. That now will be recruitable. And then the other cell travels down to Egypt. So that's 3 now. Leaving 1 more in Afghanistan. 1 recruitable. Yeah, I was forgetting there. I mean, potentially they could have travelled from Indonesia, Malaysia as well. But the priority is auto-recruit. However, next time, I'm not sure. Will they start travelling these across to Egypt? Quite possibly. Well, they've got 1 that they can recruit on the track now. So, right, that was their last card play. It was unassociated, but they didn't play it for event because it was, although a playable card, it did nothing, so they don't get the ops into reserves for that. Now we've got to decide what we're doing with that then. Here's another little thought. I mean, it's pretty good putting an aid marker in though, Grant. However, the fact this is at that, we could attempt to switch Benelux with that last one-ups card, and then we would basically balance off we're going to get a reduction and then an increase, so we'll stay at 5 prestige. I mean, it is only going to go up to 4. I actually think you might be better putting the aid on. They're going to get 2 more cards before I can do anything else, mind. If I put the aid marker in Egypt, the other thing is, I mean, you could put the aid marker in Indonesia, Malaysia as well, can't you? It's not a terrible idea. Yeah, so many things that you want to do, isn't there? I mean, because I'd quite like to, I suppose, get that fair, and then it would make my disrupt operations a bit easier going. And remember, you've got potential to gain quite a bit of prestige here, Grant. But we're going to haven't used 3 ops cards to do it. Well, that's what you need to do, maybe. You know, I mean, thing is, do I want to spread my, you know, do I want to concentrate on doing what I've just said, they're disrupting there, or do I want to put my eggs in 2 different baskets, you know, and like spread it about and then put the aid marker here, because then what is your first operation going to be? It might depend on what they do, right enough, but sure, if you put the aid marker in here, your first operation is to try and get this to ally, then to bring some troops down into there as well, isn't that? So you're caught in between, aren't you? Like, I want to concentrate in 2 countries. And then, like I said, they do have 1 recruitable cell. After that, though, they're probably going to still want to travel to here, which means they're going to travel from here. Now, they might succeed, they might fail, they might go back to the track. Oh my. Decisions. The thing is, this is stabilised now, isn't it? We've seen that they weren't interested in doing anything, they are just there. And I want to say their next operation, if it is an operation, is just going to be recruiting that 1 cell. They might radicalise with other points, but I think this will just stay as it is. Now, their second card might be a different story, because then they'll maybe travel some cells across. That could then mean that they've got the 5 cells here. Right, I'm going to put the aid marker in here. Because I feel if I put it in here... No, I'm going to put it in Egypt. Now, we need to watch now as well, because we're getting near the end of the game. I'm going to get 9 cards again, they're going to get 8, that's 17. I think once I've drawn the cards, I'm going to check the deck to see how many cards are left. Because it could be, just looking at the deck of cards, it could be that this next turn could be the last turn. That's a kind of scary thought, Grant. Well, mind you did say you were maybe going to go on and play the Forever War scenario after that, didn't you? And you've got a game set up behind you, so you're not going to be stuck for something to do. Yeah, so I do need to, like I say, once I deal in your hands, I'm going to just check the card count in the deck. Okay, I'm going to play this for event then. I'm going to play humanitarian aid. Means we're going to bring more troops out, but well, so be it. Yeah, you're still going to get 9 cards for the turn, and then you'll drop down into moderate. Is it no war? Sorry. Right. Okay. I'm going to play this for the event. Humanitarian aid. Right. Humanitarian aid. Looking for an excuse to take action against the relentless ISIL advance in northern Iraq. NATO countries dropped aid to refugees, then followed up with special forces to assess the situation. Okay, humanitarian aid. ISIL atrocities against Yazidis prompt Western airlift. Place an aid marker in any country with a cell. Right, we've got 3 options. Oops. Indonesia, Malaysia, Afghanistan, or Egypt. Well, you said you're going to do it in Egypt, Grant, so let's just go with that. So, looking for an aid marker here. There we are. Right, so Egypt's got a cell, so I'm going to place 1 aid marker there. It's kind of pushes me towards trying. My next 2 card plays are trying War of Ideas in here to get that to ally, then bringing some troops down, like just what I've done in Indonesia, Malaysia. Okay, that's my 1 card play for the turn. That's a turn over. Yeah, we should be with 4. Yeah, some good things going to happen as well, aren't there? Yeah, let's finish the turn, Grant. So end the turn. -1 fun dying. There's no fracking on pirates in play. So that drops them to 4. It's still in the moderate box. -1 to our prestige if any countries have ham show. That's correct. And we've not got our Global War and Terror at 3. So we're not going to balance that out. So it's just going to be a hit to our prestige. But hopefully this turn we can start doing some disrupt operations and maybe get that up. Right, moving on. Reserves to 0. Ours are at 0. Theirs are at 1, but they cheat. Return pots to available. There's no pots being used this turn. So polarization, attrition. There's no civil war countries. So polarization. Right, we know how this works now. So anything that's got 2 or 3 of a difference are to be looked at. This has got 1 of a difference, Pakistan. This has got 1 of a difference. This has got 1 of a difference. So yeah, we've got it all covered here. Syria's got 2 of a difference. So if it's exactly 2, we add another 1. That's what's going to happen there. And now, just thinking back to there's not been any governance change, has there? Okay, so Gulf States has a difference of 3. So that means that we're either going to move the alignment, can't move any further on our side. So it's going to go good. And that means 11.16 kicks in. I want to say Muslim countries, all of its awakened reaction markers removed when becomes good governance or Islamic rule or civil war. Right, so these 3, well, that's going to go good to start with. They're going to go away. I'm just going to jump down here. That's not going to change. Well, that one on top's not going to change. However, one underneath, that's 3 resources. 1, 2, 3. We're up to 7. We need 12 to 1. So that's nice. And then when that becomes good, convergence kicks in. Each time a country one goes good, for any reason, controlling player immediate roles on the random Muslim country table, which is this table here, as we well know. So a tan die and a black die. And we'll get an awakening marker getting put in there. So tan die, black die. Right, we've got tan 5, black 3. Let's see if I can show this over there. Right, tan die, black 3. So tan 5, black 3. So it's on the 5. That's Gulf States again, right? So that's the result we got the last time with this. Right, so it can't go in the Gulf states because it's good. So what is it happens? If we just look further down, it should tell us. So in places awakening marker there. Place adjacent if ineligible. Determine randomly if more than one choice. Okay. So Gulf states is the result. Right, so this could be nice, although it's going to be a random, isn't it? Oh, it's not adjacent to Yemen. Right. So we're looking for adjacent options that are legal from the Gulf states. Right, so Pakistan is one, which I'm not sure I would want. Iran, it can't take an awaken marker. Iraq is one. I would like it there, actually. And then Saudi Arabia is one, which is alright. Yemen, unfortunately, is not adjacent. It's not adjacent to Yemen. So that's it, isn't it? And it just says randomly if more than one choice. Let me just look in the rulebook just in case it... What was that? 11.1.8. If that country is good, Islamic rule or civil war, instead place a marker on a country adjacent to the one ruled. Determine randomly more than one choice. It's still unplayable to place a marker controlling player rules again. It says if the convergence rule is triggered during polarization, which it is, the result does not change or trigger additional effects of polarization in the receiving country. Yeah, fair enough. What it's saying there is because we're in polarization, and let's just say we had one awakening marker in Gulf states at the moment, and then another one got put in there, we wouldn't then get to polarize another one in there. Right, so we're going to just randomize between these three. So they can all take one, can't they? Yeah. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's see where we go. Where's my dice? So 1, 2 is Iraq, 3, 4 is Pakistan, 5, 6 is Saudi Arabia. I think we want 1, 2 or 5, 6 to be honest. Right. Yeah, I don't think I would be too bothered about Pakistan, so it is going to be Saudi Arabia. I would have preferred Iraq because it's got an aid marker in there, but then that spreads the love a bit, really. So and putting in Pakistan would just be 2 to 2. So Saudi Arabia, which is good. And remember, this has got an adjacent good ally. So is this. This is an adjacent good ally. This has got an extra +1. This has got an extra +1. Or our ideas needs to be neutral or ally anyway. So we can't. Yeah, you see, we can't operate in Pakistan anyway because it's adversary. Right. Well, that turned out pretty good as well then. Right. That's all the polarization. I think, yeah, like I say, this isn't considered in play yet for if we're still looking at polarization. I suppose that's why maybe you should do the good options last so that you're not getting confused by other markers coming out. Yeah, that's fine. So no, and then there was no attrition to do, no civil war countries. Carrying on, deal new cards, do that in a second. Remove lapse in event, there's none. Return off map troops to track, none of them. Regime choose tan, none of them. Okay, good. Let's just get the cards in. So we're still getting 9 just, and they're getting 8. So 17 cards. I don't think that's quite 17 grand. 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. They're getting 8, and 9 from me. Yeah, it was one more. Right, I'm going to just double check. Hang on, 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Right, I've got 9 cards. They've got 8. 2, 3, 6, 7, 8. Right, so let's have a look at what's left. I want to say we are getting another turn. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 is what we're just drawn there. So even if we're getting another turn, because even if there's 9 and 9, it's the 18 cards. There's actually 21 cards left. I mean, unless these cards got drawn out of the deck. But it's just, there are some cards that do it, so unless that happens, we're getting another turn. Okay, right, I'm going to cut that there. It's an hour and 5 minutes. I will be back later for another part. Cheers.